Good morning to you. What is happening where you are?
Ray, thank you very much, and welcome back to Paarl Mbekweni, where we continue, of course, with the official celebrations of the Women's Day program. A little bit later on, President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver the keynote address here. We are expecting also to speak to the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, as well as Minister Bathabile Dlamini, but that will be in a few minutes from now. We're about to do something now that gives me really great pleasure to do. It's the kind of thing that we want to see happening in communities all around South Africa. I am now joined by Gerald Nomlala, who is the chairperson and founder of an organization here in Cape Town called Kasi Angels, and he's joined by John Harmon, who is the managing director of BATA South Africa. But gentlemen, good morning, and thanks so very much for joining us. Gerald, let me start with you. Normally you're floor manager, but for this interview you are now on the other side, and you're acting as chairperson of Kasi Angels. Tell me a little bit about Kasi Angels and what is it that we're doing here today.
Kasi Angel, thanks for having me, Mr. Talata. Kasi Angel is a very smart foundation. What we do, we look after the kids that have nothing, especially shoes. So I can relate. People can't afford to buy shoes, so that's where we come in. So we've been distributing shoes around the country for the past 6 months now. We've given away about 4,000 pairs of shoes thus far, and thank you to John and BATA for sponsoring us, and other donors who have come on board, especially the company called Sexy Socks SA that has sponsors also socks that we're going to be giving away now.
Why was it important for you to do this, and particularly focus on giving school children socks and shoes? Why those two items in particular?
Look, Hanyo, I can relate. I spent 4 years of my life without shoes. On the 4th year, when my grandmother bought me a pair of shoes, I was told they are only to be worn at church. So I know how is it like not to have shoes. And kids are judged by not having shoes. Even people in general. If you don't have shoes, people look low at you. So hence we came in. We want kids to go to school. We encourage them to have brand new pair of shoes. And our aim is to encourage government to give kids fresh pair of shoes annually.
All right, thank you very much. Well, obviously, John, you came on as a partner to Kasi Angels. Why this organization? Why did you guys, as BATA South Africa, decide on this organization?
Okay, well, when Kasi Angels approached us at the end of last year, their whole vision and their whole, let's say, ethical process was so matching the BATA Children's Program. At BATA we have a program for many years which is all about trying to give children access to education, and we do this through various initiatives and events, and we're very happy today to be here with Gerald and to donate some Tuffy shoes to some children in need.
How many pairs have you guys made available today?
So today we're making available at this particular event 100 pairs, but in general the entire project we've given away over 10,000 pairs of Tuffies throughout South Africa. This was stemming back from the Nelson Mandela Day, started there and it came through over today.
Now, gentlemen, if we can, please, maybe we should ask Gerald. Gerald, please start handing over some of the shoes. I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then, John, you and I could possibly just quickly continue to discuss. The issue, obviously, of poverty is quite rife in our country, and the fact that for many school kids, as Gerald was attesting, there are many school kids that find themselves, having to walk very far distances without school. How critical is it that, that you guys are trying to spread out this charitable drive that you're busy on?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd just like to say, shoes go a little bit further than being just something for protection and comfort, As Gerald was saying earlier, it actually gives a child a certain amount of confidence and dignity and helps them actually achieve their overall objectives. So for us, all we want to do is try and give children as much access to education as possible, and we also want to be an example to other companies to get them more involved in trying to help people give children this access and this, let's say, step up towards an education.
Obviously the kids that you're dealing with, and you're talking about issues of how kids give them confidence. When you speak to some of the kids, do you get that sense that, you know, just because they're wearing a new pair of shoes, they feel a little bit better about themselves, they're able to concentrate a little bit more at school?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a bit of a joke, but I mean, if you look at what the shoe to Cinderella did, it changed her life. I know it's a little bit of a fairy tale, but it kind of is the message we like to give to children, that, you know, and especially I've learned one thing being in South Africa and Africa in general, you know, going to school uniform, pair of shoes, it's very important to a young child. It really is. And so I do believe it's doing a lot of good for the communities, yes.
All right. John, thank you very much. Now let's see if we can get Gerald back in here. Gerald, how does that feel, my brother? How does it feel to be able to do this for young black children?
Therapeutic, my brother. Therapeutic. It heals. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Thank you very much. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think today you've really warmed our hearts, and we want to appreciate you at Barter South Africa for what you do. Long may you continue to do so, John, and thank you very much. Gerald, all the best to you too, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you. Obviously today, as you know, it's a celebration of Women's Day in South Africa, but it's also the day in which at least the governing party, the ANC, has decided to dedicate to the memory of Mamu Albertina Sisulu. As you know, she is of course the wife of Walter Sisulu, and the two of them as a couple had done tremendous things in the struggle for South Africa's liberation, but also in setting the tone as to what kind of democracy we want to live in. I would now like to bring in Umamu Sisulu, who is a granddaughter of the Sisulu family, to come and talk to us about the importance of obviously honoring your grandmother. Ma'am, firstly, thank you. We really do appreciate you being here this morning. Tell us a little bit, let me start here. What is your fondest memory of your grandmother?
You know, actually my fondest memory of my grandmother is that she was very consistent, she was very systematic, she was very orderly, and she led by example even in the house. Never left her house untidy, always left the house looking prim, looking proper, and was always professional in everything that she did. And she did all of that with a lot of love. What I felt was unconditional love from Coco. As strict as she may have been, but she certainly had a lot of love.
All right. Ma'am, thank you very much for that memory and for sharing that with us. It's really precious. Now, obviously, when you see, as a granddaughter, when you see all of this, when you see the fact that Women's Day in our country, in this present day and age, is dedicated to your grandmother, how does it make you feel?
I actually want to feel that she is truly a mother of the nation. Yes, she's my grandmother, she's my heritage, I claim it, I honor it, I hope to uphold it, and that because of what she did beyond herself, and her being considered an icon in its nature is someone who allows us to see beyond themselves. And I think she lived that in a very powerful way. So it feels really humbling, but I am still in awe of the work that she has done over the years, at a time when patriarchy reigned supreme, at a time when violence, when she was under 24-hour surveillance, she didn't lament for long. She was steadfast, and she soldiered on consistently. She does recall, I think in an interview where she said, I came home and there was no food in the house. My children were there and there was nothing to eat. But there was a neighbor who came and said, Masisulu, I thought of you, and here's 10 rand. And you know, 10 rand then was a full tank of gas.
I know, ma'am, but let's talk a little bit about that legacy. What is it that women, particularly young women from today, can learn from someone like your grandmother, from the values that she espoused, from the strength that she displayed? What can they look at and say, you know what, this aspect and this aspect of Masisulu, I want to claim that for myself?
Definitely four things. One, I think it's in your professional life or in your school life, in whatever it is that you're doing, wherever you are. And for her, it was in the health sector. Her working conditions were appalling, but she led and she served with integrity and dignity. And I think all of us, where we are, whether you are leading from the front or leading from within or leading from the back, we have to do so with integrity and dignity. The second thing is around education and the young people. Masisulu, having turned her home into a classroom together with other women, essentially, in her words, she says, we shut down the school system when Bantu education was introduced. She made sure that the children did not face the brunt of the education system, which was so negative and, as we know now, has had a generational impact. But she wanted the youth to awaken to their greatness. She believed in them. And as she sent each young person out into exile, she left them with one message: Ufunde, mntanam, get an education, because she valued that. And for young people today, if you can value what you have and where you are, yes, the circumstances may be difficult, but if you are able to make it through. She made it through as an orphan, age 15, raising her siblings, but she made it, and she made some choices. The third thing I'd like to say is our young children. I'm so happy that the young children here, Masisulu was a lover, a protector, and a nurturer of children. And she actually, as Auntie Nkuli will tell the story, was the last born daughter, says, Umama wayesithi umuntu xa eze clinic, she would look at the mother and attend to the mother and said, but this child doesn't look well. If you don't take care of him or her, I will do so. And she did eventually take one of the children, who became Umama Ochabuga Masisulu. And the last thing, I think, for young women, as you traverse the political space, they've long started. We can have a historical context to that. But she was a woman of courage. She stood amongst men. She sat amongst men, sometimes alone, much like Charlotte Matlake. But she stood as a woman. She led as a woman, carrying always the cause of women.
What do you think your grandmother would make of the scourge of violence that is being, perpetrated against women? And what do you think are some of the words, maybe this time from your grandfather, if I can, what would his message be to South African men about what they are doing onto South African women?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what. In an interview that was done with Albertina Sisulu, I believe it was in about 2002, she talked about how she was an organizer of the Women's March in 1956. And part of the things she had to do, are you okay? Part of the things that she had to do was try and ensure that at 2 a.m. she distributed the message to say no buses are to be used. But before that, as they were organizing, the men, she says, the men tried to stop us. But Walter Sisulu said, give the women a chance. So what would he do? He would give the women a chance, and he would say to other men, you've got to give women the space, but most importantly, they are equal to who you are.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Unfortunately, the music has started going and there's nothing really that we can do. But I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us about your heritage, about Masisulu, and about this important day. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. That was Unsigi Sisulu speaking to us about the legacy of her grandmother, the legacy of her grandfather, Walter Sisulu, and of course, Umamu Albertina Sisulu, who is being celebrated today as South Africa obviously marks International Women's Day. A little bit later on, we do expect that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be here to come and deliver the keynote address, but that's only from 11 o'clock onwards. From us here in Mbekweni, it's over to you in studio.